I'm Shayla, and this video is going to be about emotions and essential oils, sorta, but mostly about me processing this last week that has happened in my life, and hopefully you can learn something from it, or pass it on to a friend or something like that. But what I like to do, or I've started to do, is have every Saturday morning I like to do a kind of like a coffee chat with my oil people, and I do it via Zoom. And if no one shows up, then later in the afternoon I'll do a video. But this is the first time I think that I've really mentioned on the video what the purpose of the video is. So this video is because no one showed up this morning, which is great and fine because people have busy lives. But what I was going to talk about is this past week. And this past week, at the beginning of the week, I was struggling with some emotions and some feelings and feelings that I haven't, I don't think, felt in a while, or maybe even felt at all. And I'm going to talk kind of about the processing of that situation, of the feelings, and then also talk about the oils that I used and maybe the oils that I should have used instead, now that I'm reflecting and processing it more. And, kind of like in hindsight, you kind of realize a lot more what you could have done better, or maybe done differently, maybe not better. So that's kind of the premise of this video. It is what I was going to talk about in my oil chat this morning, but then what that is the topic was this past week with Shayla and what she went through within herself. So as I was kind of processing this morning, reflecting, journaling about the beginning of this week, I came upon this nice little handout thingy that I have, right? It's Balance Emotions and Live Empowered. And it is kind of like the base, the foundation for the Emotions and Essential Oils book that I have. But I'm so glad that I came across it this morning, because it really does kind of go over the 3 steps that I went through naturally, that I have come to go through naturally when it comes to, I am just completely overtaken by this feeling, this negative feeling, this unpositive feeling, and I don't know what to do with it. I don't know how to handle it. I am not seeing my therapist this week, so I need some help, and I need to do it myself, right? So this is kind of the things that I went through in my head, but it also helped me to really focus and see, this is, maybe if I had asked this certain question, I could have maybe done better. I don't know. So that being said, it's a self-check-in is what this thing helps with. Identifying your emotional support that you need. And the 3 parts of it are to strengthen, to release, and to empower. So when you do a self-check-in, you are doing it to strengthen yourself, you're doing it to release whatever needs to be released, and then you're empowering, right? Your true self. So there are questions that you ask yourself when you do this self-check-in. We do self-check-ins every day in my classroom. It's part of our trauma-informed, trauma-sensitive way of doing things in my company. And what that looks like in our community meeting is you ask everyone participates if they are willing and able. You ask them, how are you feeling? And they give a feeling word, not good, but because good really isn't, you can feel good, yes, but that's not we try to draw out a more descriptive word, right? So content or happy or overwhelmed was one that I said a lot this week. I was feeling very overwhelmed. And I'm pretty honest with my kids in my classroom when we do these self-check-ins so that they know that sometimes, you're not your best self, and they will then be able to see throughout the day how I handle that emotion, how I handle that feeling, and how I get through it. So when we did these self-check-ins, I realized and recognized as well that that feeling of overwhelm was a big one for me. And then, though, towards the end of the week, I realized, it was Friday, my self-check-in word, I think, was happy. Like I really did feel a good happy in there. So when you do a self-check-in, you're asking yourself questions to help you either get to a better place or maybe to help you through the difficult place. And I think that there is a difference. Like there's a difference between getting to a better place and just working through and resting in what it is you're feeling at that moment. And at the beginning of this week, this Monday, Tuesday time, I couldn't seem to get out of that resting in the negative space I was feeling. And I couldn't really even put a word. I mean, the only word that would ever come to mind was overwhelm. I was feeling very overwhelmed, very over-responsible is another good one. Like I just felt I was so responsible for everything, all the way from my job to my home, to friendships even. Like I just was so overwhelmed. My cup was definitely overflowing with responsibility, and it was too much. It was too much that I couldn't necessarily handle. So I wish, though, I had come across this before, because I would have asked myself, how can I nourish and strengthen myself right now? I think being asked that question would have helped me a little bit better. I mean, I kept asking myself, what do I need? What do I need? And the thing that kept coming to mind was, I need like this particular friend right now, this particular person that that fills my cup back up, fills my love cup, right? Like that makes me feel loved, makes me feel amazing and awesome. And I don't just need to hear, these things of how great I am, or how much I've accomplished, or how, much I can do. I need like a physical presence. Like I'm a very physical person, and that's my love language. And that's the way I feel like I am. That's the way my cup gets filled up faster, I guess, maybe. But I wasn't able to get that at the time. And so I was feeling very depleted is another word that came to mind. But I think if I had asked myself, like what this is saying to ask, how can I nourish and strengthen myself? That would have been a lot more helpful, because my brain kept focusing on, I'm not getting this, so how can I give it to myself? When what I was asking for was something from another person. I was wanting some, relationship with another person, which is completely normal and completely natural. But I wasn't able to get that. And so I was then telling myself in my head that, I can't give myself that, so I'm just not going to get it at all. And that's not helpful. That kept me stuck. But if I had asked, how can I nourish and strengthen myself? I would have been able to answer that a lot more easier. And then, of course, the next question is, what oils would help me feel stronger right now? And I could have been able to look up, some oils that would help me feel stronger. I was stuck in such a place, though, that like I was going based on just the surface level physical needs of what my body needed. Like I had this horrible, horrible pain and tension in my shoulder and in my neck. So I got out my Deep Blue and I was rubbing that on it every few hours, and it would get rid of it. Yes, it would help it. But I wasn't targeting the actual source, because that pain is coming from something that needs to be released emotionally. It wasn't that I had pulled it. I hadn't, extended it or anything like that. I knew it was completely emotional and mental that needed to get out of my body. But using the deep blue and targeting it with that definitely helps release those things. That's an oil that can help. Doesn't necessarily make me feel stronger, but it definitely helps release some of that tension and heal some of those cells. But the second part of that self-check-in is to release, which I was just talking about. If I had asked myself, what can I let go of right now? I think, again, I would have been a little bit more successful in getting through that tough time. Because I know, looking back now, I know there were some things I could have just let go of, that I was trying really hard to let go of. I was trying really hard to let go of the fact that I needed another person's physical contact. I needed that relationship with someone else. And since I couldn't get it the way that I needed it, I needed to be able to let that go. And it was difficult. It really was. Almost like a disappointment, But I think asking and thinking, though, more deeply about what else can I let go of at this point? Like, what am I really feeling? Why do I need this physical contact? Like, where is that stemming from? It would have helped. It would have helped. And I think that's what led me finally to going back to the 2 oils that I've gone and used before. They, I think, are just a good foundation base for me when I am dealing with when I am healing from past traumas and things. And those 2 oils that I went to eventually were geranium and bergamot. The geranium deals and helps release abandonment issues. It helps release trauma. It helps release heartache. And then the bergamot is one that helps with sadness as well, and releasing those feelings, helping to heal those feelings. And once I started using those, second day, and when I mean by using them, I put them on topically. I use them with my lotion in my lotion routine. Second day, that's when I was feeling much more balanced, much more easy, like just an easy feeling. And I know some of it was that I had processed some things on my own and had accepted some things, and then also met those needs found other people that I could have that good relationship and bond with, to kind of supplement what I had lacked in the beginning. That helped as well, but I noticed a huge shift that second day of using the geranium and the bergamot, which is the empowerment part, which is the third part to this video. The empowerment, how can I best support my nervous system calming down right now? And is it something like needing sleep or more fresh air? Or in this case, this last week, I realized I needed more time by myself. I just needed some more time, quiet time by myself. And I took that in the mornings. Instead of going for a run and trying to get in a run, I took the time in the morning to just sit and read and spend some time with a super long time best friend, my God. And that's what I had needed to help just calm those nerves and that anxiety or the sadness or the whatever it is that I was feeling, right? And I made a little list of some of those common feelings that I was feeling: the overwhelm, the depleted, exhausted. I was feeling exhausted. I also felt that I was being too sensitive. And this is a feeling I used to be told that I was feeling a lot in my past. And so I have a hard time now in this season of my life acknowledging and accepting that I could be sometimes a little too sensitive. But I think that there's nothing wrong with that now. That's the difference between this last season of my life and this new season, is that I know that being too sensitive to things can be okay sometimes. I also, though, when I was reflecting this morning, had realized I had become really indifferent to other people's struggles and challenges. And I know that's not typically like me. And that's a sign for me, knowing that I'm in a place that I need to fill up my bucket more, my compassion bucket, my love bucket, my balance bucket, whatever keeps me going, and giving as much of my heart that I like to give. That's how I knew that something was off and that I needed to fix it. It needed to get fixed because I became very indifferent to like the kids in my class and even my own children, even myself. I became very indifferent to it. And so needing to fix that. I looked up the oils for these feelings that I had kind of felt this last week. Being overwhelmed, basil helps with that. Aroma touch and tangerine. And I put tangerine in my water that I've been drinking, that I drink in the afternoon after my coffee. Feeling depleted, you could use basil, peppermint, and arbor vitae. Feeling indifferent, you can use lemongrass, lime, and vetiver. Lime is another one that I tend to put in my water, sometimes with the tangerine. And then lemongrass is one that I diffuse in the bathroom a lot. Feeling too sensitive, you use TerraShield and On Guard. And On Guard was definitely one that I use a lot in the classroom, especially now when we've been cooped up because of all the bad weather, getting rid of those germs and things. But it says if you're feeling too sensitive to things, to use On Guard or TerraShield. And then when you're feeling exhausted, there's just one that they say, and I take all of this from the Emotions and Essential Oils book. When feeling exhausted, basil is another one. So I'm pretty much aware now that I need to get some basil in my life. And I actually may have it in my kitchen. I may use it when I cook. I can't remember. I use a lot of others, oregano and coriander, but I can't remember if I have basil. So diffusing it is a good thing. Putting it on the, if you want to smell like a spice, you can just put it like on the back of your neck or in the creases of your armpit thing, your elbow pit, not armpit, elbow pit. But basil, you can put it on the bottoms of your feet if you need to get it into your system to help with those overwhelming feelings, the depleted feelings, the exhaustion feelings, or you can cook with it and that gets into your system just as good. So those are the 3 things to kind of focus on when balancing your emotions and trying to identify what emotional support you need, is to strengthen yourself, to release those emotions that you're having, and to empower. And do that self-check-in. It would have been helpful, much more helpful, I think, maybe, if I had done it this way or asked myself some of these questions. But I got through, and it was only a couple days. So it's not like it was terrible and life-destroying by any means like that. No, I don't even know if my kids even recognized that I was struggling. My friends did, though. But so that's what I have. So I do Saturday morning chit chats, and if no one shows up for my oil chats, then I do these videos. If you have questions, comment below, and I'll see you next video.